Hello, thank you for joining me for Lunar Soul Vinyasa. This practice is 45 minutes in length in terms of the guided instruction. However, if you are choosing to listen to the playlist that was designed to accompany this practice, it is intentionally closer to an hour in length. And the intention there is after the guided instruction ends at the 45-ish minute mark, if you continue listening to the closing tracks of the playlist, which are by design very relaxing and ambient, maybe you can take that extra 10 to 15 minutes for yourself to then really tune into more of an intuitive, like self-closure of your practice, whether that's staying in a relaxation longer, like an extended shavasana. Maybe it's moving into a supported restorative pose. One of my favorites is scooting up against a wall and bringing your legs up the wall. And it can be really nice to put like an eye pillow on and let your arms just relax by your side. Or maybe you choose to use that cue of the playlist, knowing that it will end at an hour mark, to come into a seated meditation. Or just some self-guided breath work. Or maybe some journaling. These are all just suggestions to maximize and kind of like harness that real power of being in the at-home environment, especially when you say, I'm going to carve out an hour and Stacy will guide me for 45 minutes. And then I'm going to let myself I'm going to hold space for 10 to 15 minutes of just checking in with what I then want to like bring into my practice this evening or whenever you're practicing. So lunar flow is slow flow. So Lunar Soul Flow, the intention that it's soulful guidance and that we use slow movement and yin postures to not only slow down physically, but to also slow down the breath. When we slow down the breath, we slow down the response of our nervous system. And to also just tune into the wisdom we find when we slow down, when we are offline, when we pause, when we just kind of hit that pause button and just check in, breathe mindfully, and using the slow vinyasa to release layer upon layer of anything we might be like holding on to that's unwanted, physical tension, energetic tension, mental, emotional, anything that we need to that feels heavy in our bodies, minds, and hearts, to create more space to feel lighter, more at ease, present, like I can just breathe into my body. So that is the intention of this practice. Thank you so much for joining me. We will be adding each week a new recording of our live Lunar Soul Flow classes, which now take place on Thursdays at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, as I now will practice with you here from my mountainside abode in California. We'll begin on our backs. If you are going to be listening to the playlist, ideally you would listen to it from a separate device or speaker, ideally, than my verbal instruction, but go ahead and just take time to get that all set up for yourself. If you want to light a candle, if you haven't already, light some incense, anything you'd like to do before we just get started here, so that you really are setting the space, the intention, the ambient music, the ember of candle, like all of these things that can really make our space at home instantly like transform into space for our practice. And also the intention, that you bring to it, whatever you are looking to release during this practice, so that you have more space to feel lighter, at ease, peaceful, calm, and we can just breathe deep. Okay, so starting the music, I'll be also listening along and teaching to it. And we'll begin on our backs, laying down to the earth floor. And to start here, we'll bring our knees wide. And I'm sorry, the knees together, excuse me, the knees together. Walk your feet out all the way to the edges of your mat and place your hands just right on your belly. Create almost like a triangle shape by joining your thumbs and pointer fingers. And I'll invite you to just do a bit of a scan and feel the arrival of now laying on the grounding earth floor. Just notice that sensation. And if it's comfortable, just soften around the eyes and maybe close them. Otherwise, a soft gaze up. And you can just take in something of detail to allow the eyes to rest and almost take in what you see as like a meditation. And now feeling your hands on your belly and the rise and fall of your breath. Inviting in that felt sense of the presence of your breath in your belly space, across your waistband and into your low back. So begin to breathe in and out of the nose, starting to slow down each cycle of the inhalation where we rise and we just fill our belly space up. And slowing down the exhale, kind of tuning into that sensation in the back body. So we breathe in, rising into the belly space, and then from there, drawing up, breathing in through the nose. Slowing down the exhale through the nose, down the back body, between the shoulder blades, down into the low back and hips. And let's take 3 more rounds of this slow belly breath. One more round. And that front body, belly rises, inhaling slowly, drawing up to the top of the lungs. As you slow down the exhale, feel the relaxation across your forehead, eyes, cheekbones, and jaw, down the back of your neck, into your shoulder blades, the back muscles and waist, and down into your low back and hips. A sense of ease, of now being on your mat. And to slow down, to move and breathe, and to create more space for lightness. From here, drawing knees into your chest, giving yourself a squeeze. And as you keep your knees in and just drop your head back down, you can either rock side to side, or using your hands on top of your kneecaps to roll out into circular motions. So you can literally start to roll into that sensation that hopefully feels, welcome sensation in your low back, down and across into your hips. And then from here, we'll rock up to a seated pose. You can also just simply roll over to one side and press up from there, coming into a cross-legged seat. Inviting in length into your spine. And let's walk just fingertips off to the side to start. Continue with that breath. Now that we're seated position, but still that belly rising and drawing up on the inhale, kind of a lifted heart space. The exhales in the back body behind the shoulder blades down the spine, down into the fingertips, down towards the earth floor. And now reaching both arms up overhead. So from the seated position, just coming into this length, growing tall, rooted down, but equally lifted through the heart space and fully expressed through the hands. You can feel the energy into your fingertips. And from here, go ahead and just hook your right hand around your left wrist and just stretch over to one side. As you stretch over, try to roll the heart open a bit. And then coming back through center, switching hands, leaning to the other side, rolling the torso open. Back through center, reaching fingertips back, interlacing hands behind, and just stretching the chest open. And then from here, as you release the hands, bring them forward into prayer, drop to your elbows. And it's okay if your forehead doesn't touch, but if you can, bringing the forehead right between your eyebrows to connect right at your thumb tips. Otherwise, you can just lengthen out the arms and just drop your ears right between your biceps for a moment. And then slowly rolling back up. Once again, reaching arms up overhead, full breath in. And then we'll come into a twist, bringing your right hand to your left knee. Left hand drops back like a kickstand behind the body. And then again, the spine stays long, heart space lifted as you just turn your gaze over your left shoulder. Breathing into the belly. And then back through center. Arms again stretch up and overhead to the top of your inhale. And then twisting to the other side. Left hand to right knee. Gazing over right shoulder. Again, spine stays long. Heart lifted. Eyes can be closed or open, but scan your face. Notice where you can stay relaxed and release any unwanted tension in the forehead, down into the jaw. And then coming back through center. From here, just go ahead and catch your knees. We're just going to roll out. So rolling from the hips up into the shoulders. You can just choose your pace and how expansive the movement feels in the hips, side body, shoulders, into the neck. I'm going to pause at any point, just kind of roll out, find some micro movements in the shoulder, neck, or lean into a stretch that feels good and just kind of hold it. Otherwise, just keep it flowing and fluid here. So just slow fluidity. The element of water. The element of water is in our hip space, so we're just kind of drawing from there into the spine, into the side body, into the shoulders. Anywhere we're holding on to like physical tension, we start to use the movement as our breath continuously flows to release and to feel more spacious and lighter. Go ahead and switch directions, flowing the other way. Energetically, we're also just kind of releasing anything that we might feel manifesting as tension in the back body, right? Especially between the shoulder blades, the low back, the shoulders themselves, how we can carry a lot of tension in our neck, let alone our jaw, and all these subtle places around the eyes, the base of the skull, certainly down into the hips, the front hips, which we'll start to stretch open here in a moment. And then slowing it down, coming back through center. Then bring your hands to heart. And we just check in and take a breath, just anchoring ourselves here and now. No other demands. And then reaching arms up and overhead. And then just a wingspan open. We'll make a transition now to all fours, tabletop pose, swinging your hands down, sliding your knees back, hip width apart. Rooting down through palms. And just feeling that connection to earth element beneath your palms, beneath your knees. We're going to create a fist in the low belly. And just feel that connection right to like, right beneath the belly button, as if you're just like drawing up a zipper, just holding that. I mean, this is also known as a band or energetic lock called Uddiyana Bandha, but it also stabilizes the low back and gets us really connected to how we can engage that low belly, deep belly core area. And now let's flow through cow and cat. So you can release that belly lock, as we call it. Allow the belly to drop and relax as we press into the hands and open into cow pose, opening up through chest, throat, forehead, center. Now we'll begin at the base of the spine. Again, we're going to engage that belly lock and start to round through each vertebrae into a cat pose. As you hold here, hold that belly lock, stretch your hips back towards your heels. So it's like a child's pose variation. And then we'll just bring it forward, release the belly as it drops, lifting the tail, finding a nice arch here, opening up through chest, throat, forehead. Again, starting at the base of the spine, create that low fist belly and round through each vertebrae, through cat, all the way back, hips towards or to touch heels, keeping the feet hip width apart. Let's do that one more time, sweeping open, relaxed belly to the top of your inhale. Starting at the base of the spine, round, engage that low belly lock, that fist in the belly as you round through each vertebrae, through the upper back and stretch back, hips towards heels. As we'll come back forward, we'll make our way into a downward facing dog. So we won't be doing any standing postures in this lunar practice, but coming back to down dog, so we'll set things up from here. And as you arrive into your down dog, feel free just to invite in any organic movement. Just follow that inner guide. And start to explore the sensation. And in your own time, arriving into a place of stillness where you can just kind of pause, noticing how rooted we are in the palms. Of course, our arms are engaged, especially those like outer biceps, like armpit area muscles. But as we allow our arms strong like mountain to build energy and to just allow us to anchor here into down dog, see if you can relax as you hold the engagement of your strong arms. Relax the back of the neck. Over time, down dog is designed to be kind of that at-home feeling of coming home posture, but also where it is a posture we can relax while also building energy and strength in the body. So relaxing the back of the neck through the base of the skull. One more breath here. And then coming forward through plank pose. From our plank, let's lower knees, flip to the tops of the feet down. And from here, we'll keep the hips lifted, but we're going to come down to chest and chin, classic version of chaturanga, so that we can just, with ease, slide onto the belly, stretching legs back long. We'll come onto fingertips from here. So tenting your hands and your fingertips are off to the edges of the mat. And then rising up, rolling up, head, right, shoulders, rolling shoulder heads back, plugging into all 10 fingertips. We're going to engage our legs here, like lifting kneecaps, and try to lengthen the tail down to protect the low back, to stabilize it. Almost like you're trying to pull yourself forward here with your fingertips, just coming up as high as feels good in your low back. And then we'll release down all the way through forehead, releasing down to the earth. So again, we'll rise up, roll shoulder heads back, engage the legs, and then we're just going to roll the right shoulder down and gaze over the left shoulder. Come back up through center, right through center. So we're like rolling the shoulders, left shoulder down, gazing over right elbow. So just continue this in a way that makes sense, that feels intuitive. The idea now is we're just going to start to roll into the shoulders and once again invoke that water element in our spine as we stay rooted in our fingertips and keep our legs engaged and that tail lengthened down to keep the lower body stable and again engaged. One more round of this, rising open to your version of this bent elbow, tented hand cobra. And let's release down and turn your right ear to the mat. Release your fingertips back by your hips. And just find ease here. See if you can bring that awareness of breath back into your belly space, feeling it rise like a balloon into the earth floor. And then also that felt presence of breath across the waistband and the low back. Notice this experience now of front body resting deeply into earth floor. Go ahead and turn your head so that we even out the stretch in the neck, bringing your left ear down and relaxing, finding ease. Forehead back through center. From here, child's pose. We're just going to stretch back, sliding knees wide, big toes to touch. And you can either bring your arms straight out in front of you and rest forehead down, or you can slide like a cushion or block underneath your forehead. Another variation, as we did earlier from our seated position, is to bring thumb tips, so we're on our elbows, to rest lightly right between the eyebrows. Bit of a cue to not only relax like around the neck and the base of the skull, but also bringing our awareness right to what we call our third eye point. Right here where we carry our intuition, you know, that we all have. It's just like waking it up sometimes or aligning back with it. Bringing awareness, setting intention to feel connected here to intuition and to heart space. They're constantly in communication with one another, all the way down into our belly, right? You know, that saying of like the gut feeling, like that's intuition. Releasing deeply here for one more breath, just finding these moments of ease and stillness in the practice. And we'll come forward through all fours, tabletop pose, and back to downward facing dog, stretching out. Here we'll do a little work for our hips for the rest of the practice before coming to some more seated and then laying down postures. So let's go ahead and stretch the right leg up, coming into a three-legged down dog. Option to stay here or to peel your hip open if that feels good. You can do that with a straight leg, or you can bend the knee. And then we'll bring the hip back square as you gaze forward. We're going to step our right foot forward, however it gets there, right? You can always use your hand to support that transition of right foot to the right hand. And we're going to ease the back knee down. And if you need to fold a blanket, you know, on your mat so that you have more padding for underneath your knee, as we'll be doing some, you know, knee down postures in this practice, please feel free. Let's take a breath here. Let the hips receive. Notice how your breath can explore this, not only shape, but where you're feeling sensation, especially if we have been seated for a long portion of the day. Then we're just going to stretch into a runner's lunge, a half splits, stretching back, option to lift your toes. So you're just like balance on your heel. You can be on your fingertips here. You can walk your hands back, whatever feels secure. If you want to use blocks under your hands, and just allowing yourself to deeply rest here by folding in. Head is heavy. Relaxing the neck, relaxing the face. If you want to move around a little bit, and sometimes even like little small micro movements like in the hips or for the neck,
you can just find some sensation that you just know your body wants to receive, and then breathe into that sensation that you feel. As we come back forward now into our lunge, we're going to reach our arms up overhead. So just coming down to full Anjaneyasana, interlacing fingers and just catching your head with your hands. And if you stretch your thumbs down, you can even like find a sweet spot maybe in the neck for the thumbs to rest. You can close the eyes or just gaze softly to one pointed gaze is our drishti. Just being mindful of what we're choosing to take in, right? Particularly when we are practicing at home. So if eyes closed helps you to stay with an inner focus. Otherwise, just a detail above, just one pointed gaze so that we're not inviting in distraction by looking all around us. From here, reaching arms straight back, almost like wings behind your shoulder blades. We're gonna twist to face over your right shoulder, left hand forward, right hand back. You can stay there or drop the back hand to the body. You can hook it around your waist or slide down your back leg and tilt back slightly. Option for a mudra on the top hand, joining your thumb and pointer finger. Again, eyes closed or just finding a detailed gaze. Eyes rest there. We breathe into our body, into the spaciousness of the chest, the openness. As we stay rooted in that front foot, one more breath, and let's bring it down. Slide your right knee back into all fours. And then we'll come into a thread the needle. Let's reach the left arm up to start. So sweeping open, left fingertips up, twisting open for a moment here, and then you're gonna slide left hand through, lower down onto your left shoulder, scoot your head forward a bit. If you need to grab a block under the head, if it doesn't, just comfortably connect, grabbing a block. And you can keep your right elbow bent with tented fingers. You can also stretch your arm forward towards the top of your mat. A final option here for thread the needle is to reach your right arm up and to tuck the back of your hand behind your low back. And one final invitation is to lengthen your right leg. So you're on the ball of your foot, right? So your foot is connected at the back of your mat. Your heel is lifted and you're on the ball of the back foot. And then just choosing where to place the right hand. And then we'll release from whichever variation, coming back to all fours. Let's just roll through cow and cat, just at your own pace. You can take it really slow or moving with a little bit more sort of fluidity and a little bit more rhythm. If you want to add any variations here to cow and cat, maybe circling the hips out towards the heels and then coming forward, tracing almost like if you can envision a figure 8 shape across the front, the back of your mat that you're tracing with your hips, with your nose, with your forehead, whatever, wherever the pencil is, right? And then making our way back to downward facing dog. Let's pause to take a breath. Anchoring ourselves here and now, no other demands. Finding ease. The practice also of present moment awareness, of breath in our body. As we reach our left leg now to set up the other side, three-legged down dog, option to open the hip with a bent knee or a straight leg. Coming back square, as you gaze forward, we're going to step the left foot to the left hand. Again, however we safely arrive to our low lunge. We're going to lower the right knee down with the option to use some padding if that feels more supportive.
And just taking a moment just to ease in here, to breathe into the sensation you feel. In that front right hip, allow your breath to explore the sensation, whatever's coming up. Scan the face, right? See if there's, sometimes just that even subtle, just tension shows up elsewhere when we're working with a tight part of the body, like the hips. So scan your face around the forehead, cheekbones, around the jaw, the eyes, behind the ears, down into the base of the skull. Invite in relaxed and soft energy across your facial muscles. And then stretching back to our half splits or runner's lunge. Again, you can just walk your hands back wherever it makes sense so that you can fold in chin to chest and just staying here and being still. Or as we did on the other side, if there are any just subtle movements you feel intuitively, your body just wants to receive that sensation. Like when I gently roll my hips just even a bit to the left, I can kind of feel that sensation in my IT band and my outer hip a bit, as well as, of course, the hamstring. And then coming back forward into our lunge, reaching arms up and overhead. Interlacing hands, and allow your head now just to drop back in your hands. Choosing eye position, close or open. If your eyes are closed, our drishti is, our focal point is like right behind forehead center, as well as right behind the eyelids themselves. So we can again invite in just relaxed energy as we stay rooted in the front foot. There's lightness here. Our heart is the air element, spaciousness, lightness, feeling this just effortless kind of lift, if you will, of heart space as we stay rooted in the front foot and allow the hips just to drop open. One more breath here. And then opening arms behind you, creating like that wingspan. We'll turn to twist, gazing over your left shoulder. You can just stay right here, arms open, or drop the back hand around the hip, or slide down your back leg and just tip back with your right hand. Option for a mudra on the top hand, joining thumb and pointer finger. One more breath. And releasing, hands down, sliding your left knee back into tabletop, all fours. And then thread the needle, right arm, reaching up, twisting open. And then just sending your right hand through, bringing your head, just scoot it forward just a bit. So when you lower your head, you don't feel really crunched up. There's length to the neck. So sometimes just an inch or two forward, you can find a good spot there. And then choosing your hand placement of your left hand. Again, a bent elbow with a tented hand, or stretching your left arm forward to the top of your mat. Those are just very different sensations. And the final option of like a half bind, reaching your left hand up and then tucking the back of your hand like behind the low back hip area, which will usually bring some sensation into the front left shoulder while you also open across the upper back. And you can stay right here. Or if you'd like to lengthen your back left leg, again, we're on the ball of the back foot. The foot is rooted and connected down on the mat with the heel lifted. And then you can just choose where to place your left hand or change where it currently is, just to kind of find a new expression of sensation in terms of those three options. And releasing, coming back to tabletop. And
Once more, just a few rounds of cow and cat. Any variation, choosing your rhythm, or variations of rolling out from shoulders back to hips and hips forward into shoulders. And then we'll make our way back, downward facing dog. Take your time. We're going to hold it for about 3 breaths. Just coming back to this very grounding space of down dog, of connection to the grounding earth floor beneath palms, beneath feet, just as if we were standing in a very tall mountain pose, just feeling the earth. And now from here, we're going to step our right foot forward outside your right hand, so coming in through lizard pose, just as a transition to walk our hands over so that we'll end up in a wide-legged forward fold. So just whichever way you're facing, or if you want to kind of move around a little bit, so that we walk our hands all the way into wide-legged forward fold. So our big toes 12 o'clock. And coming up onto fingertips, or if it feels better to you, your palms can be flat, but I'll invite you to explore just like down dog, arms here. And then as you stretch back through the hips, noticing that length, that space between your hips and like the bottom part of your rib cage, like how long can we just feel in the spine here as we allow the head to drop heavy. You can shake it out. Ears between the biceps, relaxed in the face, the neck. And then walking your hands back, coming into a halfway lift. And then releasing even deeper. Now you can choose your hand variation. Hands can now just be like next to the feet, next to the head with elbows bent. You can wrap around the ankles or big toes with the peace fingers. Sometimes if I come into that variation of just wrapping my fingers around my big toes, I like to just roll my shoulders out a little bit here. One of my teachers calls this like flossing. Like you're just flossing out tension that we carry right at the heart, right behind heart, like at the shoulder blades. And ragdoll is also an option here. And you can stay there. We're going to be here for, a few more rounds of breath. If you'd rather come into some movement, some of us just, even subtle movement, you can move around, or you can even turn your heels in, toes out slightly if you want to like move in terms of bending into each knee. Just be mindful of the knees. Notice if movement is conducive to just allowing the energy to stay fluid, or if for you, staying more still. Right, coming into places of stillness, even where we can find, if you are moving side to side, maybe like pausing and just releasing into where you are. And then coming back through a halfway lift position, walking yourself back to face the front of your mat with your right foot forward. I'm going to come right into a half pigeon pose here. So however you safely arrive into your half pigeon, easing your right knee down and the left leg long behind the left hip. Any support here in terms of bolsters, rolled up blankets, pillows underneath your right hip. Or also like for your chest, if you have a bolster that you want to hug when you come down, and you just like turn your head to the side. So once you've set it up and brought in any supports that allow you just to feel, again, the key word I think is of course safety, but like supported. We're going to come into a resting phase of half pigeon pose. Sometimes it's nice to slide something like a block under the forehead, or since I don't have props nearby, I'm just going to bring myself into that folded prayer hands and thumb tips right between my eyebrows. slowly, no rush. Feel free to stay longer. If you're ready to come out of your half pigeon pose, just take, a few moments now to explore any counter movement or rest, right? So if you want to come down to like a child's pose, or cow and cat, down dog, any movement that just feels intuitive in your body. And whenever you're ready, we're just gonna slide into half pigeon on the other side. So I have brought my left foot forward. I'm just gonna walk it over and then ease mindfully down onto my left knee, keeping the foot somewhat flexed and stretching that right leg long behind me. And of course, if half pigeon is just not feeling comfortable, it's just, your knee is not going to welcome this, please, anytime, there's always alternatives, like anything, if you want to lay on your back or anything else that just feels safe in your body, right? Certainly those modifications are welcome. When you are ready, coming into a resting phase of pigeon, whatever props you're using, and just tuning into the power of release and mindful surrender. And we just kind of let go, especially these hip opener and these longer holds of postures where we come into like stillness. And so use your breath, allow your breath to be present, very present in your body. Allow your breath to remain spacious and for its flow to be continuous and smooth. And then we'll release. From here, coming onto your seat, just rolling over, sliding that right foot and leg forward. Both legs extended long. Coming into Dandasana, staff pose, where you just place your hands right next to your hips. Hands can be flat or on fingertips. And we just root ourselves and anchor right back into the grounding earth floor. And keeping the spine long, the shoulder heads back, and just exploring being rooted down through hands or fingertips. And the base of the spine, beneath the sits bones. But from there, and our legs are active, right? As if we were like kind of pressing into a wall beneath the feet. But there's an equal and opposite exchange of lifted spaciousness through the chest, the heart center, through throat, through forehead center, and then hovering right above the crown of the head. And from here, once more, I'll invite you to create a fist in your low belly, drawing those low belly muscles back. Also an invitation to lift the pelvic floor muscles so that we create a container to draw all of this into our energy body. And by being both rooted
and fluid and spacious, we invoke a very harmonious balance and exchange and relationship between these three things: rooted or grounded, spacious, light, and the fluidity is just being able to, with ease, yet from a place of being grounded, kind of go with the flow. And of course, our breath is our companion in all of this. Reaching arms up overhead now. Go ahead and grow nice and tall. Fold forward, Paschimottanasana, our seated forward fold. Tuck in, release. And then easing back, we're now going to come into laying down. If there's anything you'd like to grab to prepare for your Shavasana, please go ahead and get these things ready. Sometimes some warm, fuzzy socks can be nice, a blanket, an eye pillow, some essential oils. If you work with stones, placing a stone on your forehead center during Shavasana can be a really nice experience, or anywhere else that intuitively on your body. We're going to bring ourselves to a laying down position. So I'm doing so with my knees bent, feet rooted, arms forward, but however you want to arrive down onto your back. And then release, and just immediately tuning into that release of your entire back body being received from the earth, the floor beneath you. Closing with a twist here as you draw your right knee in and then roll onto your outer left hip. And we're just going to roll that right knee over. You can hold on to it with your left hand if you'd like. And then stretching your right arm either with a bent elbow like a cactus arm, or you can have it stretch straight out beside you, but trying to lower the right shoulder down, which just keeps the chest nice and open, and your gaze can be straight up or gently turned over your right shoulder. And the breath now, it's still present, but the breath becomes soft. If you can just feel that breath soft in your belly. It becomes a little bit more quiet, still present, but just soft and quiet. And then coming back through center. And we'll just set that up on the other side, drawing the left knee in. And then scooting the hips over so you can slide or roll onto the outer right hip. And then draw the left knee all the way over. If it's hovering, that's fine. You can always tuck something underneath it or hold on to it with your right hand gently. And then releasing the left arm beside you, again with a bent elbow or straight arm. Soft belly breath. Feeling deeply at ease, no demands. And then coming back through center. Hugging your knees into your chest. Give yourself a squeeze for carving out this time to be on your mat, to slow down, to breathe, to create space. All of the intention that you brought to this practice as we now make our way into Shavasana, final relaxation. And as you arrive here to your Shavasana, please stay. And then maybe stay a little bit longer. Feel the back body root down peacefully and heavily into the earth floor as the front body remains just light and spacious. And this is where I'll leave you in terms of the guided instruction. Thank you so much for joining me. As I mentioned earlier, the playlist will continue for, another 10 to 15 minutes. please give yourself the gift of a long relaxation. I think we could all use an extra long Shavasana these days. Or if you want to slide over to the wall and bring your legs up the wall for a nice restorative experience, stay there as long as you'd like. Again, knowing that the music will now guide you. And when it wraps up, we're then at the hour mark. If you would like to come into a seated meditation at this time and close there, or any other final rituals, trust your intuition. If your inclination is just to jump up and go, take at least 5 minutes. Give yourself that gift. Give yourself permission to stay and to receive in this effortless state. Again, that whole energetic balance that we've opened up, being rooted and grounded, spacious and light, and the fluidity. And even our breath now just finds its just natural, effortless presence.